How's everybody doing today? It's a little taste of our throwback moment for today. Welcome back to an episode of the Knicksanity podcast. Today, I'm going to be recapping a couple of the preseason games that have happened already. The Knicks had a game on Monday and a game on Wednesday, and have a game today at I think it's 7:30. So yeah, I'm going to be going over every single game. I called today the film session because I definitely want to go over a lot of clips because this is the first time in months that we've actually gotten to see the Knicks play live. So it's just really exciting to see all the guys get out there and do their thing. So to start off, the Knicks played the Wizards on Monday. They actually went to overtime, and the Knicks won 124 to 121. And wins and losses don't matter that much this season, just because like towards the end of the game, they put all the bench players in, and it's not really like a huge deal. But the Knicks have started out 2-0, which is really exciting, especially because they played the Wizards their first game, and the Wizards are a decent team. So I'm going to be going over the stat lines, probably looking at some highlights, and we'll go from there. So to start, guy that everyone had their eyes on, Kevin Knox. He played 26 minutes. He had a double-double. He had 10 points. He had 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists. That's a good stat line for 26 minutes. Kevin Knox just looks so smooth. Looks really solid. I was impressed. I just saw him make some great plays. 26 minutes is kind of a long time, but Kevin Knox kind of scored those 13 points. Like, it was a quiet 13. Like, you didn't notice that he was putting up all of those points. So he impressed me. I'm happy with Kevin Knox. I think he's definitely going to be something great for our future. Lance Thomas was our best player in the first half of that game. They started him at power forward. Fizdale was using him as more of a spot up shooter, and I just was by that. He looked really good. It was the most fluid I've seen Lance Thomas play in a while. I never loved Lance Thomas because he was always a little clunky with his movements and stuff, but he looked really solid and really comfortable in Fizdale's offense, which is awesome. He had 12 points. I'm pretty sure all of them were three-pointers. So that's great. He was spotting up. He was playing good defense. I liked that Lance Thomas for this game. Enes Kanter only played 12 minutes. He had 7 points, 5 rebounds. Just nothing really to say about Enes Kanter in this game. It was just sort of a typical game for him. Trey Burke played 14 minutes. He started. Oh, actually, I want to go over the starting lineup first. So I expected the starting lineup to be Frank, Hardaway, Knox, Hezonja, Kanter. What we ended up getting for both games, actually, he hasn't switched up the starting lineup yet. That might change tonight. I'm going to check and see if that's been posted yet. But what we got those nights was Trey Burke starting, which he did a decent amount last year, so that wasn't too unexpected. I just kind of wanted Frank to start. So we had Trey Burke, and then Hardaway I got right. Knox I also got right. They started Lance Thomas instead of and I thought it was smart for them to start Lance Thomas, actually, come to think of it. I'm, again, not the biggest Lance Thomas fan, but his defense is something that starting lineup definitely needs. There isn't a single player, I don't think, Burke, Hardaway, Knox, or Kanter are known for playing good defense. Knox was kind of getting blown by defensively. I'm hoping that we can get to the point where he can sort of just body up guards and manage to keep up with them, but he's not there yet. And hopefully that's one thing that they can focus on with this team. So that was the starting lineup. I talked about Trey Burke. Hardaway's looked awful both of these preseason games. I don't really he's looking like a chucker. He's looking like he's not playing good defense. He's looking like he's not buying into the system. He's getting in transition, which is one of the things I thought would be his strength. I thought would be his strength under Fizdale's system. But he only scored 11 points in 12 minutes, which granted is more than Kanter and Burke, but he scores in bunches, so it's not really that great for him to only score 11 points. Hezonja looked good in this game. A lot of passes. He did have 5 turnovers, which is kind of rough. I wanted him to start. It was probably better, actually, that he came off the bench. Coach Fizdale knew what he was doing. Alonzo Trier, who I'm going to get into more later just because he had a better game on Wednesday than he did on Monday. But he still had 13 points in this game, played really well. Damian Dotson had 14 points. Emmanuel Mudiay is another guy that just looked rough. He just doesn't seem to fit anywhere. He's not great at getting to the basket. He's not great at finishing when he's at the basket. His defense is kind of subpar. I don't know what they're really going to do with Moutier, just because he's taking up point guard minutes from, speak of him, Frank Ntilikina, who he only had 5 points, had 2 assists. Yeah, he really didn't show up. He was kind of quiet. The Knicks were experimenting with playing him at like small forward, and it wasn't exactly working. It wasn't bad. Like, he wasn't getting blown by. But I think his strength is playing point guard. I think since it's the preseason, they just wanted to experiment with things. Mitchell Robinson totally showed up, had played 16 minutes. I don't know how many blocks he had, must have 3 or 4 if I can remember. But he had 6.7 rebounds, and he just made an impact. He actually almost got into a fight with Markieff Morris, because there's twins in the league. Marcus Morris is on the Celtics, Markieff Morris on the Wizards, obviously. And he got into an altercation with Markieff, and then Markieff got thrown out of the game. So that was pretty cool. He kept his cool. Fizdale said something after the game. He didn't instigate it, which is good, but he didn't back down either, which is also good. So, yeah, I was impressed with that by Mitchell Robinson. And then you just kind of got a bunch of guys at the bottom, like Noah Vonleh, Isaiah Hicks, Luke Cornett, just the kind of bottom feeder guys that only got minutes at the end of the fourth quarter. And overall, they looked like a unit in this first game. The Knicks looked like they had a game plan. They came in. They did a really good job. I was just impressed by that. And it seems that my computer always wants to go off whenever I'm doing this podcast. I apologize for that. So that was Knicks Wizards Monday. Good win. I kind of lost interest a little bit in the fourth quarter because I started putting some other guys in, some of the worst guys. But I hopped back on, watched the highlights of it. It looked pretty good. So now we're going to get to the Wednesday game, the game 2 days ago against Brooklyn, and the Knicks won again, which is awesome. They came out looking terrible, actually. They only scored 17 points in the first quarter to Brooklyn's 26. But a couple more notable things about this game, just to kind of show a little bit more about players, because any player can do something for one game. But you really have to consider, like, can they do something consistently? Can they consistently be effective, consistently perform in the way that the team needs them to? So Kevin Knox, not as good of a game, only had 7 points and 4 rebounds in 22 minutes. He was kind of passive in comparison to the first game. I would like him to be more aggressive than that. He didn't play bad, obviously. Like, he wasn't, like, he did get blown by a couple times, but he really wasn't playing, like, terrible. So to give you an idea, like, Lance Thomas scored, I think, what did I say? It was 12 points the first game. And then against the Nets, he didn't score. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. You kind of, especially because it's preseason, you can't, like, account stats to production in the regular season. But hopefully Lance Thomas can be as effective as he was that first game in the regular season. That would be great. Enes Kanter had a monster game. He actually played 27 minutes because Mitchell Robinson sprained his ankle. I'm going to talk about that more a little bit later. But Enes Kanter had 22 points and 20 rebounds. And in a preseason game, those are unbelievable numbers. And I know I just said numbers aren't indicative of the regular season, but you really have to look at that and just go, wow, he's a solid center. Hardaway Jr., again, 24 minutes, 9 points, not good shooting percentages. Really has not looked good. Trey Burke, again, just looked all right, looked pretty solid. He had 9 points. Alonzo Trier, who went undrafted, the Knicks signed him to a 2-way contract, which essentially means he can jump in between the Knicks G League affiliate in Westchester and the NBA team for, I think it's 60 days. So he can kind of go up and down depending on how the Knicks want to use him. But he scored 25 points, and he had a lot of really good moves, showed that he has a lot in his arsenal, and I'm hoping he makes the team because I really feel like he kind of deserves it. He was really impressive. He's a shooting guard, and the Knicks sometimes play him at the point, but I think his real strength is when he's at shooting guard. They call him ISO Zoe because he likes to play in isolation a lot, and he was really effective this game. He had 25 points. Hazonia looked a lot worse this game, which is kind of a bummer. I'm kind of a Hazonia fan. I wanted him in the starting lineup. He only had 3 points. I'm pretty sure he had a 3-pointer, but he did 25 minutes. That's kind of rough. Ntilikina had such a better game. This game, he was much more aggressive, a lot of floaters in the paint, a lot of blocked shots. which was something that we saw a couple of times last year at Frank, but never on like a consistent basis like that. There was one play where Spencer Dinwiddie was driving down the lane and Frank just absolutely demolished him. I was really impressed. He made some really strong athletic plays. He had a dunk, too, in traffic in a half-court setting. That's not something common for Frank Ntilikina, as a lot of Knicks fans know from last year. So I was really excited about that. Moutier had 2 points in 15 minutes. I don't know what they're going to do about Moutier. Mitchell Robinson obviously sprained his ankle kind of early, so he really didn't have much of a stat line. Dotson, again, played all right. I hope Dotson gets more burn with the starters, because Dotson keeps kind of coming in around when Dean Allen's and the Isaiah Hickses, like the nobodies, come in, and he keeps putting up a bunch of points. But I'm like, I want to see him with the starting rotation, especially because Hardaway's struggling and they play the same position. I think it would just be good to get Dotson some more key minutes. So, yeah, that is the quick recap of both of those games. So I'm going to go to the throwback moment, because this is the last time the Knicks were in the playoffs. It was 2013 in the series against the Pacers. This was a team that had a lot of veterans. It was the first time the Knicks had made the playoffs in over 10 years, I think. No, Knicks have made the playoffs more than that. But it was the first time the Knicks had made the playoffs in a... Did the Knicks... Yeah, the Knicks made the playoffs with Jeremy Lin. I am not smart. But it was the first time the Knicks were like a top-seeded team that had like 54 wins. It was really impressive, because the Knicks were like an 8th seed with the Jeremy Lin team. I'm going to give you the regular season roster, or at least the important people on the regular season roster, just to refresh our memories, because that is 5 years ago, which is unbelievable to think about. I feel like I was rooting for them like it was yesterday. So obviously, the superstar for the Knicks, he was a monster this year, Carmelo Anthony, the 6'8" forward from Syracuse. Yeah, but that's Carmelo. He just scored a ton of points that game. Oh, and I'm going to highlight Game 2 specifically, because that was like the peak of the Knicks. They won that game against Indiana. It looked really good. Ronnie Brewer was on the team to start the year. I don't know if he got traded or just didn't play the rest of the year, but Marcus Camby was on the team for a stint. Tyson Chandler was their big center. Raymond Felton and Jason Kidd were their 2 big point guards. They had Prigioni as a backup. They actually signed Quentin Richardson towards the very end of the year, and he made a couple shots. Knicks also had Amon and J.R. Smith, who both got traded to Cleveland 2 years later. They had Amare. He came back like halfway through the year. Rasheed Wallace was on this team. He retired like mid-season. But there was a great... Actually, I'm going to play this, because this was awesome. I'm going to YouTube it, see if I can find it. Rasheed Wallace Knicks. And see if... Because this is a moment from a long time ago. I just got to make sure the audio is working. Let's pull this up. So, just to give some context, the crowd's chanting Rasheed Wallace towards the end of the game. The Knicks are blowing out LeBron James' Miami Heat by 20 points.
So thrilled with the team's play right now. They're chanting Rasheed Wallace. That's probably the first, I'm sure it's the first chant he's ever heard of Madison Square Garden. That wasn't an ugly chant.
And now they start cheering because Mike Woodson tells him to get up and put him in the game. So he's getting up off the bench. He had taken 3 years off, and the Knicks had signed him. Ball don't lie. That's Rasheed.
Free throws used to be missed after what he thought were questionable calls. And there's the exclamation points. This one.
Yeah, just an awesome Knick moment. Just a fun Knick. I liked him. He said ball don't lie. Got ejected from a couple games. He was great. James White, who was actually in the dunk contest that year, did kind of bad. I was not a fan. And then Kenya Martin. So just a lot of really like big name veteran players, and they kind of all just worked together really cohesively and did a really good job. It was a fun team to watch, and I was just always impressed by them. What am I gonna do? Here we go. Yeah, here is the video. Okay, so I'm just gonna show some highlights really quickly. I got them on my phone here. If they have any cool audio, I'll play it too, but I'll lower the playback speed too, just so I can sort of highlight the plays. there was a lot of Pablo Prigioni. For those of you that don't know, Pablo Prigioni was an Italian point guard. He played in Europe until he was like 31, 32, and then came to play for the Knicks for a couple years. I think it was a couple years, yeah. But Prigioni was awesome. He'd always get steals in the backcourt. He was just a fun player to watch. He was a crafty. He was like barely 6 feet tall, not athletic whatsoever, but just a really fun team player. And I loved watching Prigioni. He's with the Nets now, actually, not playing as a coach, but yeah. Let's just check this. Fast forwarding. Yeah, the Knicks were like up 10 around now in the fourth quarter. They went in a 33-13 run, which is awesome. And honestly, I don't know how this team was so good at defense sometimes, because I'm looking at the backcourts that they have, like Jason Kidd and Pablo Prigioni and stuff like that. And they're not good defensive point guards. They're old. J.R. Smith's another one, actually. They didn't have a good defensive point guard, but they just kind of worked. Raymond Felton wasn't good either. He's too short. He's only like 6 feet. But their team just flowed so cohesively. They were like the Houston Rockets before the Houston Rockets. A lot of threes, a lot of ball movement. They were so much fun to watch. I could never get over it. Let's see some of the plays here, what they're doing. There was just a lot of Carmelo versus Paul George, because Paul George was still in Indiana at the time. Tyson Chandler was actually hurt a decent amount of this series, which is why Roy Hibbert kind of ate him up and made us lose. And I'm still kind of upset about it. But, yeah, there were just a lot of plays where Carmelo was just automatic. So many points. And the Garden was going crazy just because it was the first time that, like, they had the trainers doing the Melo celebration with the 3 to the dome. Everyone was just having a great time. They had Steve Novak, who just threw up 3-pointers and made, like, every single one. He was unbelievable. Let's see what else we got here. Just a lot of Pacer missed shots. There's Chandler on a put-back dunk. Chandler would always either get tap-outs or put-back dunks. He was a monster on the glass. Then they got Melo in the post here. And actually, Porzingis picked up a lot from Carmelo. Just as a side note, like this move where Carmelo runs across the lane and out of the post. I've seen Porzingis use that move. Carmelo taught Porzingis a lot. I think that's kind of one of the more underrated things about Carmelo's time in New York, especially because Porzingis is kind of just the future of the Knicks right now. It's good that Carmelo taught him a lot. So let's see what else we got here. There's the bench going crazy. There's Carmelo for another 3-pointer. He's insane. I was the biggest Carmelo Anthony fan in 2013. I was like, he should be the MVP. I was arguing with like the LeBron fans at my school. I was like, Carmelo Anthony should be the MVP. And he got a vote, I think. I think he got a vote. Yeah, he definitely did. And just an incredible year. 54-win team for the Knicks. I felt like he was finally getting the recognition he deserved, which is awesome. There's an alley-oop from Prigioni to Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler and Raymond Felton actually were really good at those alley-oops, but Prigioni threw it that time. This is just such a good team to watch. I loved like every single player on this team. If I had to pick, I didn't love Ronnie Brewer, but he got off the team halfway through the year, so it was like whatever. I liked almost every player on this team. There's just so many good veterans and so many like fun names. It was just a good time overall. And then Quentin Richardson, who had like just signed with the team, started like pouring on 3-pointers too. So it was just like unbelievable. I felt like they were like pulling people off the street to hit threes. So the final score was 105-79. The Pacers were up 1-0. This tied the series at the Garden. It was a great game. I thought the Knicks had a shot to win the series after this, but Tyson Chandler started having issues, and the Knicks just weren't showing up. It's kind of a bummer. So yeah, that is our throwback moment. And the reason I chose that moment is just because it's the last time the Knicks made the playoffs. And bold statement here, I think the Knicks have a shot at making the playoffs this year. I think there's a very, very slim chance that the Knicks can take over because the Eastern Conference is weak, but Kevin Knox could have a great season. Ntilikina could keep playing really well, learning. And I'm just really hoping that they can get to the playoffs, especially if Porzingis comes back towards the end of the year. That would be a great, just a great step for this young team. So, yeah. that's the moment. Now, what I'm going to do, what I always do, and scroll through Nick's Film School. That's at Nick Film School on Twitter. You should be following them if you're a Knicks fan. It's basically required. They talk about like everything. Like, okay, this is the first tweet is the New York Knicks announced today that the team has signed forward Paul Watson. No one knows who Paul Watson is. No one really cares who Paul Watson is. But Knicks Film School comments on it because he wants us to learn. So it's great. The Knicks are doing this thing with the G League where they're signing this thing called an Exhibit 10 deal. I don't know exactly how it works, but essentially they're giving guys like I got a whole list right here that Nick Film School tweeted. Tyrese Walker, never heard of him. John Jenkins was in the league for a little while. Phil Carr, Billy Garrett, Jeff Kobe, and Paul Watson. So those are all the guys where the Knicks are essentially giving them more money than the G League really would ever pay them just because they're able to do that. It's like a loophole. And I was always impressed. Just really great. Let's see what else we can talk about here. Oh, DeMarcus Cousins signed a deal with Puma, just like Kevin Knox did. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. They finally got an all-star to commit to Puma. And then Mitchell Robinson and Kevin Knox are just posting pictures of them with the star Knicks, the retired Knicks in the background with their number, saying they want to get their number retired. It's pretty cool. I'm impressed by Mitchell Robinson specifically because he's kind of a surprise. And then Kevin Knox just looks always really solid. Excuse me. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, I could preview Friday's game. We'll do that. So, Knicks are playing the Pelicans tonight. And they're going to have to figure out how to stop Anthony Davis. And interesting. I'm wondering if Enes Kanter is going to be matched up against them. Probably. So the hope is that Enes Kanter can lock up. The hope is just that Enes Kanter can just lock up. And I know that sounds crazy just because Enes Kanter locking up anybody is very rare. But he can slow down Anthony Davis just because he's kind of built. Although Davis has a perimeter game, so it might be kind of tough for Enes Kanter to figure out. I apologize for this podcast being a little more spotty than my other ones, like a little bit less specific information, a little bit less organization. I have midterms coming up, so I gotta. I don't know. I wasn't able to really find time to really commit to this. Once the season really gets going, I can basically do what I did today for the first 20 minutes, and then go on and talk more about as the season's going on. But the thing that is going on right now is that we're in the preseason. It's the start of the year. There isn't a ton to talk about. Like I said, the Knicks are all about youth. It's Kevin Knox. It's Frank Ntilikina. It's Mitchell Robinson. And you know what? Just because I can, because Alonzo Trier went off and scored 25 points, I'll throw him on that list. It's Alonzo Trier. He might make the team, actually. David Fisdale was saying that he was earning it, so I think there's a shot he can make the team. That's kind of wild, but that would be great. They'd have to cut someone with a guaranteed contract to add Alonzo Trier, but until then, we'll have to see. I apologize again for the really short episode. I'm probably going to end it off pretty soon. Just wanted to recap Knicks and Nets, Knicks and Wizards. I can basically, after next week, so I might have again a little shorter podcast next week, just recapping Knicks and whoever they play in the preseason. But after that week, I have a lot more open time. I'll be able to do more fun stuff. I'll probably end up bringing a guest on the show for the first time ever, so you guys don't just have to listen to me talk for an hour over and over and over again, because even I get tired of my own voice eventually. So, yeah, hopefully, because my roommate is also a Knicks fan, so I'm hoping I can get him to come on the show. He can talk about the Knicks a little bit. It'll be fun. Yeah. Oh, and then also, again, I'm not exactly set on my intro and outro just because I'm worried about copyright stuff because I can't access my first episode, which is kind of a bummer just because of copyright issues. But I'm finding royalty-free music on YouTube. I'm going to edit a little intro that I can play at the start that won't get me copy striked. So that'll be fun. It'll give the podcast a lot more of a professional vibe. Again, this is kind of early in development. I'm only on my third episode. My week 1 episode was probably my best one, but like just because they had the cool intro and stuff. But of course, it got cut because I was stupid and forgot that YouTube just immediately copy strikes anything involving Jay-Z. So yeah, I mean, that was great. Oh, and then there's one more thing I just really want to do. Actually, I don't even know if I can do it, but because of copy strike, do I want to do it? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I don't care. So, as we all know, the Knicks have a game tonight, and today happens to be Friday. So, you know what that means. I need to talk over it so it doesn't get a copy strike. Wearing walking shoes or running in the rain. I just sung on my podcast. Oh boy. But place to be. Everyone hates this song. I don't know why. It's great. You have to do it all again. Like dancing in my chair right now. This is great. I love this song. Friday night Knicks are my friend. Gotta get there. Yeah, you guys don't want to hear me sing. What else can I do to fill this song? I'm just gonna keep talking. Friday night Knicks on MSG. Got front row seats. Something, get there. Yeah. So Friday night Knicks, and I will see you guys next Friday. Oh, and one more thing. I've been deprived of Knicks for months other than the preseason. It's been just deprivation. There's just been constant I want to watch the Knicks. And of course, the second the Knicks come on, the Yankees playoffs start. And I'm sitting here weighing my options because I like basketball a lot more than I like baseball. So I'm like, am I really going to watch the Knicks preseason instead of the Yankees postseason? Well, I'm not doing a Yankees podcast, am I? I got to watch the Knicks, man. So what I do is I usually just throw the Yankee game on in the background. And then I got the Knicks as my center of attention. So, yeah, it's pretty sweet. Again, I'll be getting back to you guys next week, Friday at 3. I'm going to try to make an intro if I have time. That would be great because I feel like it just sort of gives a lot more professional feel to the podcast, which is kind of what I'm going for here. And yeah, hope everyone has a great day and go Knicks. Peace. Bye, guys.